Judge Jogn was sworn in by Pam Bondi in the Oval Office today as the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. And a lot of big news dropped during that press conference. We're going to go through some of it and talk about it. This is huge stuff. Now, this warning that Trump told the press that he gave to Netanyahu, this is some big stuff, okay? Right now, as I'm speaking to you, the situation with Putin is in a very dangerous situation, right? President Trump commented a little bit about that too, and we're going to get to it. But we very well could be in a war situation in Ukraine, even though President Trump and MAGA world, which includes me, thinks that it has nothing to do with us. Things have escalated to such a level, and the president said over the weekend that Putin is crazy. He looks like he's lost his mind. And that makes things very, very dangerous. And there's a lot of people that have been pushing to bomb Iran, that they're so far away from a nuclear weapon. Now, I know this. I've been hearing that Iran was a month away, 2 months away from a nuclear weapon since George W. Bush was president. That's not an exaggeration. I've been hearing that for a long time. They're bad guys over there. There's no doubt about it. Iran is our enemy. They have been since 1979 when they took our embassy. I get all that. But bombing Iran right now, when we're possibly facing a war with Russia, doesn't seem to be very smart. Seems to be very dangerous. Now, if President Trump does bomb Iran and take out their nuclear weapons, he'll have a very good reason for doing it. But a lot of people don't understand about Iran is this. There's a lot of things that are put out there in the press that say that the Iranian people don't support the government. That if we bomb Iran, we've got the Iranians on our side, the Iranian people. We really don't know that that's true because it's a closed-off country. We don't have people over there. I'm not saying that everyone's happy with the government, but the Ayatollah been running the country since 1979, and I don't think it's a safe assumption that the people of Iran do not support their government. Obviously, everyone doesn't. How many do? How many don't? We don't know. We have a population that almost all of them grew up after the Islamic Revolution, and that's all they know. So they may be brainwashed into thinking that that's great. I don't know. But I do know this. Iran has a very large and powerful military. And anytime you hear people talking about, oh, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to bomb, we're going to do this, it'll be all over. How'd that work out for us in Iraq? Exactly. Or Afghanistan, the 20-year wars over there, okay? And we had that insurgency in Iraq. So Iran has the ability to seriously respond. Not only do they have a military in their country that's pretty large and powerful and well-equipped, and they could respond, Iran backs all the Islamic terrorism around the world pretty much, and they could unleash a global terror operation, not just in the Middle East, not just against Israel, but all over, including the United States and the Western nations. And so messing around with Iran's a pretty dangerous thing. Now, I'm a strong supporter of Israel. There's no doubt about it. And I always have been. So is President Trump. However, there's a lot of push being made towards President Trump to bomb Iran's nuclear sites. I don't know how close they are to a nuclear weapon or not. President Trump knows. He's got the intel. So we've got to lean on him so far as what to do with Iran. But Steve Kane and I were talking this morning about this. Mark Levin's pushing hard. And there are a lot of people that are pushing hard that do have Trump's ear. And Netanyahu, who's been prime minister off and on since the Clinton era, it's hard to believe, right? All these years. He's been prime minister. He's out. He's back. He may not think he's coming back as prime minister again. He's getting up there. There's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of things going on with him. And he's wanted to take out Iran for a long time. He may think this is his last opportunity to do that. And a lot of people are thinking that Netanyahu, a lot of people are talking about this, that Netanyahu may go ahead and strike Iran, assuming that once it's done, we're going to have their back. And that means that he's out of control, Netanyahu. So in this Judge Jeanine swearing in ceremony today, we'll talk about her in a moment too, because I'm so glad Judge Jeanine's back. A reporter asked about Iran and Netanyahu, and the president Netanyahu recently had a conversation. Listen.
Did you warn Prime Minister Netanyahu against taking some sort of actions that could disrupt the talks there in a phone call last week?
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did. Next question, please.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So we've got a warning to Netanyahu not to take action. And, you don't want to take action for a number of reasons. President Trump is trying to work out something, which I don't know if it's possible with Iran, but he's trying. But, you don't want to have two wars going on. You don't want to have a war with Iran and a war with Russia. We have to settle this situation with Russia before we do anything else. So let me rewind, and then I'll play the rest and see what the next question is.
Did you warn Prime Minister Netanyahu against taking some sort of actions that could disrupt the talks there in a phone call last week?
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did. Next question, please.
Okay, now that's, one more thing on that before we get to I don't know what the next question is, so we're going to find out. I have some other clips from the press conference, but I didn't go beyond that in this one. So the next question may not be relevant to anything. We'll find out in a moment. His tone there with this conversation with Netanyahu is pretty tough tone for Trump. He's sending another message to Netanyahu now. You better do what I told you, which means nothing against Iran. Do not bomb Iran. Do not attack Iran. Do not take action to Iran. So not only did he warn him on this phone call, this was a very strong warning that President Trump gave to Netanyahu right there live in the Oval Office on TV today.
Sanctions.
I did, yeah.
If Senate Republicans want to push
It's not a warning. I said I don't think it's appropriate.
What exactly did you tell him? Did
I
you
just said I don't think it's appropriate. We're having very good discussions with him, and I said I don't think it's appropriate right now. Because if we can settle it with a very strong document, very strong, with inspections and no trust. I don't trust anybody. So no trust. I want it very strong where we can go in with inspectors. We can take whatever we want. We can blow up whatever we want, but nobody getting killed. We can blow up a lab, but nobody's going to be in the lab, as opposed to everybody being in the lab and blowing it up, right? Two ways of doing it. Yeah, I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now because we're very close to a solution. Now, that could change at any moment. Could change with a phone call. But right now, I think they want to make a deal, and if we can make a deal, save a lot of lives.
Okay. Yeah. So, he really reinforced that. Don't do it. We're on the verge of maybe something. And if we can get this done, it's better than war. I remember when, and I know some of you were there with me. I don't mean listening to me. You were in the same space. There was a big buildup to the war in Iraq, and I did not realize George W. Bush was a war criminal at the time. I don't think most Republicans did. We believed them about the WMDs. They completely lied to us. That's why George Bush is a war criminal. But we were, and when I say we, I'm not just talking about me, the country, and a lot of this had to do with the post 9/11 feeling that was going on that, as people, there's no context, as this post 9/11 thing that was going on. We thought we were going to rebuild the Middle East like we rebuilt Germany and Japan, who were bad enemies after the Second World War ended. And we thought this was a possible thing, and we believed George Bush. We didn't think the war would last that long because in the Gulf War in 1991, it was so short. And we found out that there's no such thing as a short war with these countries, right? You overthrow their leaders, you start a war, you've got years and years of fighting, insurgency, and war, and it's never ending. So, and President Trump is a very anti-war guy. I'm an anti-war person. I'm always going to stand with Trump. We do not want war with Iran. If war can be avoided with Iran, we want to avoid it. We want to avoid wars with everyone. Wars are something you don't want to have happen. I'm sorry to tell some of these people, but that's the way that it's got to be. But I'm so glad that President Trump is being so strong about this very hardcore warning that he's given to Netanyahu, and it most definitely is something that has to be done. All right, now let's get back to this. This is the White House press conference, you see Judge Jeanine, the swearing-in ceremony for her.
Do you believe the Russians are being disrespectful when they say that your criticisms of Putin are simply an emotional response? And do you still believe that Putin actually wants to end the war?
I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we're going to find out very soon. We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not. And if he is, we'll respond a little bit differently. But it'll take about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We have Mr. Witkoff is here, who's doing a phenomenal job, is dealing with them very strongly right now. They seem to want to do something, but until the document is signed, I can't tell you. Nobody can. I can say this. That I'm very disappointed at what happened a couple of nights now, where people were killed in the middle of what you would call a negotiation. I'm very disappointed by that. Very, very disappointed.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the situation in Russia is so dangerous right now. And what's going on, we really don't know. Is Putin acting in this irrational way because he's worried about a coup against him in his own country? To say that he's just insane. I know a lot of people say, well, we've known this for years. Of course he's insane. It's Netanyahu. I wouldn't just assume that, okay? He's been running Russia for a long, long time. Okay, so what Putin's probably most concerned about, more than anything else, is maintaining his control inside Russia. I think he's more concerned about that than taking Ukraine. We know he wants Ukraine, but he's more concerned about staying in power than anything else. A guy like, he is a dictator, Putin. And a guy like that, they get very worried about what will happen to them. Plus, they're obsessed with power, right? But also what would happen to them if they're not in power anymore. Guys like this, they don't just retire like normal people. One day, hopefully many, many decades from now, President Trump will retire. That's a different situation. He's not a dictator. How many dictators just retire? Most of them, if they survive, dictators, they live somewhere in exile, but they don't just say, okay, I'm retired. And most of them don't make it, okay? And that's what Putin's primary concern is. Notice that assassination attempt the other day that happened to him. We haven't heard anything else about that, have we? Okay, now there's also a lot happening with the Biden White House. And some of the things that are going on right now with the Biden White House and the autopen are really, truly heating up. There was a strange addition to the autopen saga that came out yesterday, and that's that Elizabeth Warren had control of the autopen. We've got this committee of people, Trump's chief of staff, Anita Dunn, who worked for Obama during his first term, and then she's been in the Biden White House, the White House Council, which, the White House, there was this presidential committee, okay? Ron Klain, the White House chief of staff, Anita Dunn, the White House Council. The White House Council, by the way, was the one who met with Fannie Willis's boy toy lover at the White House. Remember that? And another attorney at the White House who at one time was Obama's private attorney. And there's been some other, this was the presidential committee. Those four were running the White House, basically, with the autopen. Now, there were some other additions. Jill Biden. There's been some reports that Hunter Biden was acting as the chief of staff. And there's been some talk, Jack Posobiec posted this on X, but others have been talking about this, that it's believed that it's possible that Hunter Biden signed his own pardon with the autopen. And now we got this new character. We've got Elizabeth Warren, who's been named as a user of the autopen now. And, there's some congressional hearings that are going to go on this. We need some arrest. These people are being brought in for questioning, including the White House doctor. There needs to be some major arrest and perp walks with some of these people. For the last 4 years, we had this committee running the country, not the president. Okay? And it looks as if Obama, a former president, not on site, over the telephone or whatever, somewhere else, that he was actually running the country through this presidential committee at the White House for 4 years. This is the biggest scandal in the history of the United States government, and it may be one of the biggest scandals in the history of the modern world, because, that autopen is the most powerful writing instrument ever developed. And it's also maybe the most powerful invention ever, more powerful than even a nuclear bomb. And I know that sounds crazy, but with that autopen, you run the country. The United States is governed by whoever governs the autopen. And this autopen investigation, a lot of talk is going on about this, that Judge Jeanine, now that she's the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, the autopen investigations, the autopen charges, the autopen arrest, the autopen indictments are going to come through her, not Kash Patel and Bongino and Pam Bondi. It's going to be through Judge Jeanine because these crimes were committed within her district as the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. And I hope that's true because Judge Jeanine does not play. She's very good, and we all love her. We all love Judge Jeanine, and let's just hope that's the truth. And I trust Judge Jeanine. She hasn't given us any reason not to. She's been very loyal to Trump, and she's had a rough time at Fox because of her MAGA loyalties. Right? They took her show away. They suspended her for a couple weeks. Remember that a couple years back? So this presidential committee. This is a big, super big crime. And these named people, not nobodies that we've never heard of that are some underling somewhere, we need some arrest, indictments, and perp walks. And today, the great James O'Keefe, who is, I think that it is fair to say that James O'Keefe is the greatest American journalist in the history of American investigative journalism. Starting with his Acorn video all those years ago, which he saved the country. I'm not going to get sidetracked on that right now. Maybe I'll talk about that one day, make a video about it, and put it up here on YouTube. Because what James O'Keefe did with Acorn saved this country. You have no idea. I've talked about it many times over the years. But he dropped, there's this new video today through Project Veritas. And I don't get this, that James O'Keefe back with Project Veritas now? There's some weird stuff going on. It's all still developing. But anyway, this new video just dropped, and this is crazy. It's of David Hogg, and he's talking about autopen gate. This blew me away.
Yes, nice to meet you. Yeah. Off the record, of course.
Oh, yes. Off the record.
Foundational question for me is how corrupt is the DNC if so many people knew, or few people knew about Biden, the president of the United States?
I mean, I think the fact of the matter is the DNC is always going to be a campaign arm of the president, ultimately. The bigger issue was the inner circle that was around Biden. That's it.
And I can't stress you enough.
Joe Biden's chief of staff. Had an enormous amount of power.
Joe Biden?
Jill Biden's chief of staff.
See, now this is a new name. Jill Biden's chief of staff. Not Joe's, Jill's. So the first lady's chief of staff was part of the presidential committee.
An open secret at the left. I would avoid him. He was scary.
What was his name?
Anthony Trump.
There he is, right there. Part of one of the leaders of the presidential committee. So we are really things are moving, all right? And I know, I get so impatient. I know you guys get impatient. When are the arrests going to be? You can see things are coming together. This swearing in of Judge Jeanine today, the all these things that are coming out, things are coming together. And it may take a lot of time, but it looks like we could have a lot of criminal trials going on. Fannie Willis, this autopen scandal. We could have indictments and trials going on as we are approaching the midterms. How's that going to help the Democrats? And it seems to me having these things going on as we're getting into the midterm election season, that seems to be a pretty good time to have them, doesn't it? But this David Hogg here is naming names. So what's going to happen now? David Hogg, who hogs up a lot of TV time, loves to be on TV, him getting caught on this undercover video from Project Veritas, are they going to ask him about it? It's hard to say because he does all these left-wing interviews, but he's going to be asked about this. He is not going to be able to skate by without having to address this. In fact, who knows? He may address it before you watch me talk about it. I mean, he's such a camera hog, David Hogg. This is some big stuff because now we have somebody who is with the DNC, a semi-senior person, a lot of conflict going on, a lot of spotlight on them. Everybody's talking about them, especially in Democrat circles. He's confirming the autopen scandal. He is confirming that there was an illegal presidential committee running the country. Oh, man, Mike Lindell at MyPillow, he has an incredible sale going on. By the way, MyPillow goes on trial, a jury trial, in the beginning of June, which Mike Lindell's talking about. Big trial. This is what happens when you stand up for Donald Trump and Maggie. You find yourself in court. That's what's happened to Mike Lindell. But his mega sale is going on, and you can use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, on all the specials at mypillow.com. But right now I want to talk about the Giza cotton dream sheets. Kathy and I, my wife, we sleep on these. We have these on our bed. They are so good. They're 100% Giza cotton. Mike Lindell says there's a lot of people that offer Giza cotton sheets, but they're only like 10% cotton. His are 100% cotton. And that's important because Giza cotton is the finest cotton in the world. And I don't understand how the Giza cotton dream sheets work, but this is what I know. They keep you the perfect temperature all night long, all year long. Right now, we're getting in the hot summer months here in Florida. Yesterday, it was 93 degrees was the high, and nights are pretty hot too. I get in those Giza dream sheets in bed. When I go to bed at night, I feel like I'm in an air conditioning cooled bed. I'm just the perfect temperature. In the winter, I'm warm. In these hot summer months, I'm cool and comfortable. And right now, with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, the Giza Dream Sheet Special at mypillow.com, with our promo code Kane, any color, any size, including king, just $69.98. That's a huge savings. $69.98 with our promo code Kane at checkout. Now, of course, you can use our promo code Kane on all the specials at mypillow.com. I talk about, when you hear me talk about MyPillow, I talk about what are my must-haves I think everyone should have with MyPillow. And the Giza Cotton Dream Sheets, these are must-have. They come in every mattress size, too, just $69.98 with our promo code Kane at checkout. Sleep throughout the summer, cool and comfortable all summer long. Go to mypillow.com. Use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, and take advantage of this incredible deal on the Giza Dream Sheets.
This Father's Day, give a gift from the heart. The Flower Story by author Sean Feeney is a children's book that gives tribute to the unconditional love between a father and daughter. Inspired by a 2-year-old's bedtime request, The Flower Story follows the journey of a flower given by a father to his little girl, growing with her through the years. It's a story that blossoms with meaning, capturing those powerful moments only a dad and daughter can truly understand. The Flower Story is perfect for bedtime, story time, or anytime. It also includes a special section where dads can add their own personal message, making each book a one-of-a-kind keepsake. Whether she's 2 or 22, let her know your love grows forever. Celebrate Father's Day with The Flower Story by Sean Feeney. It's a gift she'll never forget. The only way to get a signed copy is on the author's website. Just type in 143 Art Publishing in the search bar and you'll find it right there. True warriors don't follow trends, they forge legacies. At TacticalVikingBrand.com, they believe warriors are built, not born. Tactical Viking was inspired by the ferocity of Norse legends and the precision of modern fighters. Tactical fighting is more than just a brand, it's a way of life. They create apparel for those just like you who live by strength, resilience, and honor. Every battle-worn design tells a story of warriors who refuse to surrender. When you wear Tactical Viking, you're not just wearing clothing, you're wearing a legacy. Everything is a tribute to the warriors who gave everything so we could carry the shield forward. The burial flag on our sleeve isn't just a symbol, it's a promise that we will never forget the sacrifices made before us. Join the Brotherhood, forge your legacy, stand strong, stay ready, no surrender. Visit TacticalVikingBrand.com right now and view the inventory. You will be impressed, and use the code TACTICAL10 to save 10% off your purchase. TacticalVikingBrand.com. Forge your legacy. Wear the warrior's spirit. Did you know that every year, 95% of criminal cases never see a jury? They're decided behind closed doors through plea bargains. But what happens when those negotiations go wrong? Author Philip Mosier takes you inside the seismic 2012 Supreme Court rulings, Missouri versus Fry and Lafler versus Cooper, that changed everything in the book Plea Bargains on Trial. Available on Amazon. For the first time, the court recognized the right to effective counsel during plea bargaining, exposing the hidden pressure points that shape justice in America today. Filled with sharp legal insight, real-world examples, as well as powerful historical context, Plea Bargains on Trial pulls back the curtain on a system built on speed, but often short on fairness. If you're drawn to the complexities of law, justice, and the fight for true representation, Plea Bargains on Trial is a book you can't afford to miss. Order your copy right now on Amazon and see the system in a whole new light. Plea Bargains on Trial from author Philip Mosier on Amazon.
Charlie Kirk is one of the most important conservatives in America today. Out of people whose name is not Trump, he's in the top 5, maybe even in the top 2 most important conservatives, because he has this incredible organization that has accomplished what everyone thought was impossible. He has made being Republican cool among high school and college kids. He has turned out the youth vote, where the youth vote went for Trump in numbers that we never thought was possible. He has chapters on college campuses, he has chapters at high schools, and it's growing, okay? And a lot of high schoolers, they are old enough to vote while they're in high school. You know, I remember when I was a senior in high school, I registered to vote in my senior year of high school at school, and that's been a way of things for a long time. Now they'll probably kick that out of schools because they're registering Republican, not Democrat these days. But Charlie Kirk has, you know, there have been conservative organizations that have done a lot of good in the past. Christian Coalition with Pat Robertson and Ralph Reed, the NRA over the years. But Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, he is the only grassroots conservative leader who has an organization that's gone to a demographic that historically is loyal Democrat. And the youth vote always went Democrat in the past because kids don't know what's going on. They're not informed. But he's taken a group that historically is Democrat and turned them into Republican voters for life, all right? And these other groups, Christian Coalition and NRA, have done a lot of good work, but there's a lot of preaching to the choir there, okay? And what he's done is amazing. And the Democrats right now are in a panic. They're in a panic, the Democrats, because not only did they lose to Donald Trump, their party is all but over. I've been talking about this a lot on the last few episodes of the podcast. By the way, my name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to me on. Okay, so there's a threat that the left see in Charlie Kirk. They want to take Charlie Kirk down. And the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a very self-important organization that claims to monitor hate groups in the United States, well, they've taken a step here. The Daily Signal reporting, Southern Poverty Law Center puts largest conservative grassroots youth group on hate map with Klan chapters. Let me read through this article. The writer is Tyler O'Neill. The Southern Poverty Law Center is comparing the largest conservative grassroots youth organization to the Ku Klux Klan, adding Turning Point USA to its hate map that plots KKK chapters and claims to expose the groups upholding white supremacy in the United States. So now all of a sudden, Turning Point USA is a white supremacist organization? The latest version of the Southern Poverty Law Center hate map, released Thursday, lists Turning Point USA for the first time, categorizing the group as an anti-government extremist group. The hate map also includes PragerU, which, by the way, PragerU does a lot of great work too. And I watch some of their videos and learn some things from time to time. They're very good. PragerU, a nonprofit that uses digital media to spread conservative ideas, putting it in the same category as Turning Point USA. Critics have long accused the Southern Poverty Law Center of liberal bias, no doubt about that, in applying its hate accusations through the Southern Poverty Law Center, though the Southern Poverty Law Center contests these claims. PragerU told the Daily Signal that the Southern Poverty Law Center did not reach out to them before putting the group on their hate map. No, they did not notify us. And if they'd like to know how we feel about them, we actually have an entire 5-minute video about them titled "The Anti-Hate Group That Is a Hate Group." That's interesting. I'll look up that video on PragerU about them. Turning Point describes itself as the largest and fastest growing youth organization in America, touting a presence on over 3,500 campuses. It has more than 800 college chapters and over 1,000 high school chapters. That's absolutely amazing. I did not know. I knew they had high school chapters. I didn't realize it was so many. It aims to build the most organized, active, and powerful conservative grassroots activist network on high school and college campuses across the country. I founded Turning Point USA to take the fight for ideological diversity, directing to Progressive Stronghold, the nation's leading colleges and universities, says Charlie Kirk. He said this, by the way, years ago when he first started. So the hate map, I'm pulling up the hate map here. They have marked out, and a lot of the hate map is in Florida. And some of the, I'm going to pull up Florida because I'm in Florida. And looking at some of the things they have here, let me see if I can pull it up closer. Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty is on their hate group map at Southern Poverty Law Center here in Florida. Moms for Liberty has been responsible for overturning school boards and turning school boards from Democrat to Republican. There's a lot of those chapters in the state of Florida. Yeah, there's a lot of them in Florida, and they got them all marked on their map. They've got illegal immigration groups that they put on there. And, you know, this is a badge of honor for Charlie Kirk, I'm here to tell you. You know, Charlie Kirk is doing incredible work. Everyone thought it was impossible to do what it is that he's doing, to turn young people into Republicans. And Donald Trump has a big role in this, too. But, you know, these young Republicans will be Republicans for life. There's been a great awakening in this country. And, you know, I often talk about Donald Trump as a civil rights leader, leading the American people to freedom, all the American people, regardless of their ethnicity, their background, their religion. And it's freedom from the tyranny of the permanent Washington class that have been dominating politics, and we thought we couldn't break through. And we've got this outsider president who's not a part of the establishment in Donald Trump. And, you know, the conservative groups of the past, while they've been important and have done things, I've never seen one as important and as influential as Turning Point USA. It's absolutely amazing. And I've been to one of their events in person in Palm Beach about 2 years ago. And I've watched some of their events on television when they've had them around the country. And these are very, very important things. And you know, Turning Point already has had people become members of Congress, right? Like Paulina Luna was with Turning Point, look, in Congress. And we will have senators and maybe even a president from Turning Point USA. You know, we've had a lot of dark years as Republicans before Trump came down the escalator. And now we're back. And the Democrat Party, that's been very desperate to try to find some way to survive into the next election cycle, they're not going to be successful because they don't see what it is that really has caused their downfall. And what Turning Point does, if you watch their speakers, they have a lot of people that are young who talk about why they're a conservative, talk about themselves. And a lot of it, there's a lot of personalities like Vivek Ramaswamy, you know, was on their circuit. But there's a lot of other people that are a part of Turning Point that speak at these events around the country. Sometimes they're on television, sometimes they're online, sometimes they're just in person. And, you know, young people today are incredibly well informed, maybe more informed than ever. And they don't fall victim to believing what they hear in the fake news media with their talking points. And to call them a hate group is insane. You know, there's a story that I just saw. Listen to this. This is a pretty scary story. And there's a video of this. A transgendered mom surrounded a Christian mother and her baby in Seattle. Listen to this. A religious rally descended into chaos after trans counter-protesters targeted a woman and her 3 small children before a scuffle broke out with police officers. Christian activists with Mayday USA had organized an event outside of Seattle City Hall Tuesday with trans groups counter-protesting their appearance in the city. One clip has emerged from the protest showing a woman with her 3 children, one of whom is a baby, trying to get through the trans mob. She appears to be with her partner, who's holding the hand of one of the kids as she holds a baby, while counter-protesters shout and point at them. As cops move in to separate the family, one person can be heard shouting, "Get the kid out of here." Another man can be seen pointing at the family, and the officer, as he shouts, "You mother effers," are instigating as the clip ends. 8 people were arrested as the 2 groups clashed on Tuesday, following a similar incident over the weekend, which led to the arrest of 23. You know, you look at what's going on. You look at hate groups. It's what's going on the left, right? We had this radicalized Democrat who murdered the people outside of the event, that murdered the Jews outside of the event last week in D.C. We just had another radical leftist who was threatening to blow up the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv. They have a satellite embassy in Tel Aviv. He was going to blow it up. He had Molotov cocktails. I was telling Steve Kane this morning that come August, it'll be 3 years since Dr. Philip Appleton rid me of pain for the first time. It was in my knee. And my knee had been hurting me since I was 20, 21 years old. So it had been 30 years of suffering. And sometimes my knee would act up. It was my right knee. It would act up so much, I just wanted to sit down and go to sleep, because the pain was so bad. And Dr. Appleton treated me. And I know it was 3 years ago because I remember a salesman from the radio station took me to meet Dr. Appleton. And I told Dr. Appleton about my knee. I got that free consultation that you can take advantage of too, the free consultation with Dr. Appleton. And he treated me with the laser treatment on my knee, which is 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections, no downtime. In fact, not only is it completely painless, you don't even feel it when it's happening. So that was on Thursday. The next day I woke up on Friday and my knee was already improving. I went for a second treatment on Saturday. First treatment Thursday, second treatment on Saturday, and then Monday, the pain was gone. And 3 years coming in August, the pain has not returned because the laser treatment doesn't just rid you of pain, it repairs the damage that's causing the pain. It's amazing. It works. And he's rid me of pain 6 times after that for a total of 7, Dr. Appleton. We have listeners that travel literally from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton. He is incredible. The laser treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Arthritis, which, by the way, he rid me of arthritis in my hand, bursitis, work and sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck and back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, which I understand is incredibly painful, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and any type of pain you've ever heard of. Because I keep meeting listeners all the time with new pains I never heard of, and they're now living pain-free thanks to Dr. Appleton. Give him a call. Now, remember, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. And, the left, they never talk about who the true haters are. And if you look at what's going on, the true hate is not from Charlie Kirk. It's not from MAGA. It's not from Republicans. It's not from the right. It's from the left. Look at Luigi, who shot and killed the pharmaceutical head. He's become a celebrity in their circles. And here's a clip. This is with Michael Steele over here on MSNBC. Listen to this nonsense.
Could you explain or maybe express how is this different? Because I've been thinking about this case in particular, but some of the others that are very similarly situated. How is this different from when Putin grabs a journalist?
Oh, by the way, they're talking about the deportations, in particular, the MS-13 guy that's in El Salvador.
Or some, rogue group in the Middle East grabs an American, and we're sitting here fighting to try to get them back. Our own government did this. Our own government snatched him up and put him in harm's way.
This is the guy that beats his wife, right, and is a member of a terrorist organization, MS-13.
And now refuses to do what it must do and should do to get him back home. Is there any difference in your view as a member of Congress when, you know, you're sitting here and you're getting intel and information on individuals around the globe who've been taken by, taken hostage by groups and organizations, and all this energy to try to get them back?
Now, you got to remind, you're talking about the illegal gang members, Trinde and the MS-13ers that are being picked up. And Michael Steele, who's talking here on MSNBC, he was the chairman of the RNC in the past, right? I mean, this is crazy. This is the kind of Republicans we used to have before Trump came down the escalator.
I find we're doing the exact same thing here in the U.S. now.
Yeah, we
with our own government. We're petitioning our government to stop seizing people and grabbing them off the streets and putting them in foreign prisons.
Yeah.
This is the part that's killing me.
And don't forget the Venezuelans.
Oh, my goodness. The Venezuelans, those are the Trinde de Agua terrorists that they're talking about. And, the liberals are losing everywhere. The Democrats are losing. They don't even understand why they're losing. And that's a good thing for us. We don't want them to correct this. And it's not just that they're wrong on everything. You never hear a Democrat talk about helping the American people. They're always talking about helping others. Here's an example. Listen to Mayor Pete.
Of course, we should be talking about how, if Speaker Johnson got his way, it wouldn't be possible, not just for gay people to get married, but for straight people to get divorced, let alone like birth control or how he would want to regulate porn or whatever.
Okay, and this is interesting. So here you have Buttigieg, regulate porn. The gay marriage issue is a settled issue, and none of the Republicans, including Mike Johnson, are taking issue or even challenging it. It's a settled issue. It's the law of the land now, and gays are married and legally recognized in all 50 states. And the series finale of The Handmaid's Tale aired this week, and I feel like a lot of these Democrats watched it and they think we're living in The Handmaid's Tale Gilead, and not the real world. Mike Johnson and the Republicans aren't talking about gay rights or gay marriage. It's a settled thing. Was been settled years ago when Obama was president. And I haven't heard them talk about outlawing divorce. Now, of course, we discourage divorce. My parents are divorced. My wife's parents are divorced. My wife and I, it'll be our 29th wedding anniversary this year. We're opposed to divorce. But what Republicans are talking about outlawing divorce and gay marriage, this is the world of hallucinations from Mayor Pete.
Of course, we should be talking about how, if Speaker Johnson got his way, it wouldn't be possible, not just for gay people to get married, but for straight people to get divorced, let alone like birth control or how he would want to regulate porn or whatever people.
Okay. I don't know what he's talking about with birth control. Who's regulating birth control? Who's even talking about regulating birth control? Unless he considers abortion birth control. And what's he talking about pornography? Pornography is being heavily regulated. And the reason it is because there's no safeguards. It's all online now, and young people of any age have access to pornography. When I was a kid growing up, children didn't have access to pornography. Now I'm 54, but they used to have these places, like these little buildings where guys would go and watch pornography in person. And you'd see the cars parked behind the building, so I guess people didn't see their car. When I was a kid, that's how it was. Now, when you have every kid has an iPhone, parents insist on it so they can know where their kids are and communicate with them at any time. And on any iPhone, you can access pornography. You couldn't do that before. You couldn't do that when I was growing up. So, of course, there have to be regulations that we're finally seeing for the first time that restrict its access online. That's crazy. Anyway, let's see what else Mayor Pete has to say, if anything.
People to get married, but for straight people to get divorced, let alone like birth control or how he would want to regulate porn or whatever most people would have a problem with. But
I don't think most people would have a problem with anything because Rasmussen, that Mike Johnson is doing, because there's a Rasmussen poll out this week that says that more than 50% of the American people believe the country is headed in the right direction. And what does that mean? It means they agree with Trump and the MAGA Republicans that are running the country, because since they're running the country, Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, that means the majority of the people agree with us. Mayor Pete is out of his mind. Now, if you're in the state of Florida and you need roof repair or replacement, you want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. He's a good MAGA guy. He'll take good care of you. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need, meaning that if you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He covers the entire state of Florida, the East Coast, the West Coast, and everywhere in between. And did you know that Tom Laporta was voted one of the best general contractors and best roofers in all of South Florida? That is absolutely amazing. He's honest, he's knowledgeable, he's reliable, and he does incredible work. I've seen his work, not just on Steve Kane's house, but many of our listeners have told me about the great work that Tom Laporta has done for every type of structure. We actually had a listener that had a church roof. They call Tom Laporta about. Now remember, because Tom Laporta isn't just a roofer, he's also a general contractor. Florida law allows him to deal directly with your insurance company for the cost of the repair or the replacement of your roof. He can handle a job of any size, and he can also handle any type of roofing job. Residential roofing and repair, commercial roofs, schools, municipal buildings, office buildings, emergency repairs. You know, after rainstorms and hurricanes, we have a lot of listeners, they call Tom Laporta. He comes right out. He takes care of it. Give him a call. Now, this number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, okay? 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602. You can either call or text him. That's his direct cell phone number, or go to his website, laportaroofing.com.
If you're in business, you know that first impressions are crucial. Your business deserves a website that stands out. With nearly 20 years of experience, ProWeaver is your trusted partner for professional custom design websites that are built to elevate your brand. ProWeaver doesn't use generic templates, just fully responsive, user-friendly custom websites that are tailored to you and the needs of your business. And the best part, ProWeaver delivers in just 3 to 5 days. That's lightning speed compared to competitors who take weeks. ProWeaver handles everything for you. Logo design to e-commerce solutions, SEO, and social media setup. They'll help you launch, grow, and dominate online, all at an affordable price. Don't wait. Get your custom website right now. Visit ProWeaver.com or call them directly toll-free 877-216-0852. 877-216-0852. ProWeaver.com. Affordable, dependable, fast. Are you over 50 and want to feel stronger, look better, and live an active life like you did when you were younger? Then add Fit After 50 on Highway to Your Health to your podcast playlist. Fit After 50 gives you real-world advice from experts and everyday people just like you. Whether it's fitness, nutrition, or disease prevention, Fit After 50 host Keith and Rob bring you tips, strategies, and the motivation you need to take charge of your health. On Fit After 50, there's no gimmicks, no shortcuts, just science-backed actionable strategies and real talk to help you stay fit, feel good, and thrive at any age. Listen to Fit After 50 on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. Subscribe today and take your first step towards a healthier, stronger, and more energized life. Looking for timeless furniture that blends beauty with function? Discover TKC Woodworking on Etsy, where craftsmanship meets quality, and every piece honors the natural elegance of hardwood. From stunning bookshelves to studio cabinets, floating shelves, and handcrafted coffee tables, everything is expertly crafted and designed to elevate your space. Whether you need practical storage or a statement piece, you'll find the perfect fit at TKC Woodworking on Etsy. You'll also discover incredible gifts that will be appreciated and passed down for generations. Exceptional materials, masterful craftsmanship built to last. Visit TKC Woodworking right now, online at tkcwoodworking.etsy.com. That's tkcwoodworking.etsy.com. Explore the collection. You will be impressed. tkcwoodworking.etsy.com. Handmade hardwood furniture and home decor.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. Thanks for tuning in. So this press conference in the Oval Office today, there was one thing that dropped that is going viral on X already. And this involves a question that was asked President Trump about pardoning the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plotters. Okay, listen to this. This has got them freaked out.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Will you pardon the people who are accused of conspiring to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer?
I'm going to look at it. I will take a look at it. It's been brought to my attention. I did watch the trial. It looked to me like somewhat of a railroad job. I'll be honest with you. It looked to me like some people said some stupid things. You know, they were drinking, and I think they said stupid things. But I'll take a look at that. And a lot of people are asking me that question from both sides, actually. A lot of people think they got railroaded. A lot of people think they got railroaded. And probably some people don't. One more.
Okay, so yeah. And, you know, when that happened, a lot of you may remember, there actually was a lot of talk about them being entrapped, that there was a lot of entrapment involved, that there were feds inside the plot and planted the ideas and things. And I think there's a good chance they get pardoned. And, you know, President Trump's been doing some high-profile pardons, that reality couple, the sheriff, yesterday. And he's doing these pardons. Presidents don't usually do pardons they always do them at the end. He's doing them because he thinks it's the right thing to do, needs to be done. But also, he wants to make a high-profile issue that he does his pardons, signing them himself. No auto pens. They're very public. He's very knowledgeable about the pardons. There's a process. Not all these auto pen pardons of Biden. And if he pardons those Gretchen Whitmer kidnapper people, oh, my goodness. They're already freaking out, okay, over this. They're already. You put that together with the pardoning of the J6ers, and the liberals are just going to have meltdowns. But you know what? Nobody's listening to them because no one trusts them. But this autopen gate is developing by the hour. There's new things coming in. You know, on Fox News Sunday, there's a new book out about Biden, and they had the author of the book on Fox News Sunday. The book's called Original Sin, and it brought up what through all the interviews and the research for this book, they're sharing the mindset of this presidential autopen committee and how they justified doing this illegal stuff, running the country with the autopen because, well, let me play it for you, then we'll talk about it. But, you know, people that do these bad things, a lot of times they have all kinds of justifications for doing what it is they're doing. People don't think of themselves generally as being evil, okay? Most people that are involved in things like this, the presidential committee, autopen crowd, they view themselves as patriots. I know that's crazy, and they're certainly not. They need to be arrested and go to prison. This is treason they were committing, and who knows what other crimes. I'm curious if they ordered airstrikes with the autopen. That means they murdered people. Okay, so there's a lot of serious things going on with autopen gate. This is not just some punchline or some joke about, you know, things. This is serious stuff. But they don't tell themselves we're committing treason. They tell themselves they're patriotic Americans saving the country. So this is Bream talking to the author of this new Biden book called Original Sin. And when she goes to him, he explains how they justified their actions.
In the book, you quote a longtime Biden aide basically admitting he shouldn't be running again. They said to you on page 85, he just had to win, and then he could disappear for 4 years. He'd only have to show proof of life every once in a while.
Wow.
His aides could pick up the slack. Who would have been running the White House in a second Biden term?
Well, this person went on to say that when you're voting for a president, you're voting for the aides around him. But these aides were not even Senate confirmed aides. These are White House aides. These were unelected people. And one of the things that really, I think, comes out in our reporting here is that if you believe, and I think a lot of these people do sincerely believe, that Donald Trump was and is an existential threat to democracy, you can rationalize anything, including sometimes doing undemocratic things, which I think is what this person is talking about.
Wow. You know, this is so insane. It's hard to wrap our minds around it. And, you know, when this was going on, when we were suffering through the Biden president, we knew what was going on. But I think most people thought, well, Jill Biden was doing a lot of this and she was signing his name on things. I don't think it occurred to people at all that we had this presidential committee loyal to Obama who had this autopen, and they were the ones doing it. Now, that doesn't mean that Jill Biden wasn't doing things on her own without the committee and signing his, actually signing his name with her hand. Maybe she didn't always use the autopen because she's right there, or putting things in front of him to sign, and he signed them. Who knows? And we knew, we all suspected that. But where we're at now is at a whole new level. And maybe this has happened before and we didn't know about it, but I don't think so, because we've never had a president who was as feeble as Biden. I mean, Biden is gone, right? I mean, he's gone. He's been gone for a long time. We knew this. He was gone during the campaign. And whatever they hopped him up on to put, when they put him out on television here and there, we saw him many times when he wasn't on whatever they were hopping him up with. And you could tell he didn't know a lot of times where he was or that he was even president. He might have thought he was the senator from Connecticut visiting. He might have thought he was the vice president. Remember that time he couldn't find the door into the White House out front? Remember that? Oh, my goodness. And it's scary. But maybe it's more scary that we had this committee running the country who are lunatics. They are complete lunatics. And it's really, truly amazing that the world did not burn down and fall apart, because around the world, foreign intelligence agencies, I'm sure, are embedded with spies in our government, and they probably knew about this presidential committee. So if there was a major attack on America, or a major military act like Ukraine, how would the United States respond? If there was a 9/11-like event when the president's checked out like Biden was and this committee, how would they have been able to respond? How would they have been able to order and orchestrate a response? It could have been total chaos. And what the author of this new book, Original Sin, says is true. When you tell yourself Trump's Hitler, you can justify anything. You're saving the country. This is what I mean by these people telling themselves in their minds that they're patriots when they're not. They're very bad and very evil people. And it's so important for these people to be arrested, and high-profile arrest, and tried and convicted. And we don't have a lot of time to waste, because when the midterms are over, if we don't maintain control of the House, who knows what they're going to do? If we lose control of Congress, it's going to just be all-day impeachment. And we're going to have 2 years of impeachments. Trump will be impeached every week, pretty much, if the Democrats took over the House. Then they're going to try to shut down anything they can do. So we have this time right now where we know we don't have to worry about that kind of distraction. It has to be done. And not only does it have to be done because of that, it has to be done so this never happens again. In the United States, so much of American law is based on legal precedent. And in the early days of Biden's regime here, when we thought it was Joe Biden that was signing his name to things, we weren't talking about the autopen then, right? Woodrow Wilson's wife is suspected of having done that. Woodrow Wilson had a stroke and spent the last year of his presidency totally out of it because he had a stroke. And it's long been believed that Woodrow Wilson's wife was signing documents. Now, back then, the stakes were not as high as they are today. The United States wasn't the world power it is today. It was a different era technologically, but it was believed that Jill Biden and those around her were using the Woodrow Wilson wife as a precedent to allow her to do this. And maybe that's how it started. What happens with criminals when they're doing crime, they do a little bit of crime, they get away with it, they escalate. So maybe it started with Jill and then escalated to what we had with this presidential committee. Now, another thing too with the congressional hearings, these hearings need to be public hearings. I don't want any of this BS where they're behind closed doors and then people come out and tell us what happened. This is a national crisis. High treason was committed. In fact, maybe the highest treason ever committed since the Democrat insurrection against the federal government of the Civil War. This is certainly the highest treason we've seen. And these people need to be brought out in front of Congress on television, live, in the middle of the day, for the world to see. I don't want to see any of this closed doors because of classified. No. We need this on television. You know, what happens a lot of times with these hearings, they have the behind closed door hearings, and then they have the ones on television. And this is how the swamp operates. They ask the same questions. Maybe they ask lighter questions on television, but they go through the whole thing behind closed doors. And what they do on television is a live reenactment of what they've already done. That's crazy. No, these people need to be brought out and questioned on television. And I remember when Oliver North had to testify during Iran-Contra, there wasn't any of this, let's go easy on him. The Democrats were running the show. And we had Reagan was a Republican. They brought Oliver North in, and it was some hardcore stuff on television, talking about Nuremberg and all this stuff when they were questioning him. They didn't mess around, and it was very That's what this needs to be like. And if they refuse to show up, they need to send federal marshals and arrest them. Okay, this needs to happen. It needs to happen. And the reason that the congressional hearings are so important to do usually I don't pay attention to congressional hearings. They waste our time. But because these are federal cases of treason, grand juries are secret. You never see that. And the federal trials are not televised. So the only time we're going to see them questioned and answered live would be during a congressional hearing. And it needs to happen. It needs to be on television. And no behind the scenes first. The first time they speak to them, it needs to be live on TV. And people need to be able to tune in and watch how they react. And I'll tell you something. We may get some confessions from people if it's done on live TV and spontaneous. We might get some arrogant confessions that they were trying to save us from Donald Trump. Maybe not. They may squirm. They may take the fifth. They may lie. I don't know what they're going to do, but taking the fifth is pretty good too, because that's like even though it's not an admission of guilt, it's perceived as an admission of guilt. So no, they need to have these hearings. They need to be on TV. They need to ask them the hard questions. And the Democrats, if they go easy on them, it's going to let them. That's beautiful. Let that happen too. But no behind closed door hearings where we don't get to see them. No. It's got to be on television. And let me know in the comments what you think about that. Now, if you'd like to support the program, become a Patreon supporter. If you're a Patreon supporter, you have access to commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And since I have upgraded the podcast to have a video version of the Brian Craig Show podcast, the audio version is still on all the podcast platforms, guys. But on YouTube and YouTube Music, I upload the video version. And Patreon supporters, not only do you have access exclusively as a Patreon supporter to commercial-free editions of the Brian Craig Show podcast, you get a commercial-free video version of it, completely commercial-free, if you're a Patreon supporter. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And if you're one of our top Patreon supporters, you get a live on-air shout-out on each episode. Your name is in the description of the podcast episodes, and on YouTube and YouTube Music, your name as a top Patreon supporter appears on the screen while I go through the names like I'm about to do. So the following names are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, and SFjr. These are our top Patreon supporters. If you want your name on the screen and in the description, or you want to get those commercial-free editions of the podcast, go into the description of this episode. On whatever platform you're on, go to my Patreon page and become a Patreon supporter. This is, I guess, is this the second or third week that I have started doing the video version of the podcast on YouTube? And, you know, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms. If there's a podcast platform, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on it. Just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. And the podcast is also on YouTube and YouTube Music, as well as every single podcast platform there is. On YouTube and YouTube Music, this is, I think, the second week, I started doing the video version of the podcast. So you get to see the video and the articles that I show. You get to see me. So if you watch on YouTube or YouTube Music, you get the video version of the podcast. But the audio version is still available on all podcast platforms, all right? The Brian Craig Show podcast. And everyone, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for your support. And always, please share the podcast on your socials if you don't mind. I'd appreciate that. You know, this program, I've been on the air, you guys know, for over 30 years. The podcast has been on the air for over 10 and well over 10. This podcast has been on the air for 14 years. So I've been on the air for over 30, and the podcast has been on for about 14 years. Wow, it's hard. Time flies. And all of the advertising for this podcast is through the word of mouth of you and this audience sharing it on your socials, telling your friends, and recommending me to people, okay? And that's how I'll continue to do it. So thanks so much for doing that. Continue to do that if you don't mind. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Talk to you next time.